So, Zach, tell us what you got coming up. I appreciate you joining us to give us updates on your sources, but also just your analysis as a great intel source. And we're not debating or fighting with QAnon. I'm just saying QAnon's not known, and you think there's some group of good guys, and so do I. I'm just saying your bona fides are vetted and known by me. So you're giving people some really interesting, powerful info, and what you've told us in the past has turned out to be very, very accurate. So what's the latest on the radar screen? Thank God, you said they rolled up some of those planned terror attacks that we know are always ongoing in little Somalia there in Minneapolis, St. Paul. But so it's good that didn't happen. But more Amtrak derailments, more Amtrak problems, and a lot of other stuff. So what's on your radar?
Yes. Hello, Alex. It's great to be back on with you and have the opportunity to connect some dots and get into some very important breaking issues and events. I joined you from just outside Cape Canaveral, where yesterday, SpaceX, in conjunction with our government, made history. But the big points in breaking intel will center around uncovering and rolling up deep state Islamic sleeper cells and the removing of left-behind deep state assets in key military and judicial positions among the waterfront. But those two big stories and, just a lot going on right now.
That is all extremely important. What do you make, just of the general battle space right now with the globalists? Are they demoralized yet? Because they're fighting harder than ever, even though what they're doing is exposing them.
Well, we have a very clear choice on this planet. And here it is. Our country is either going to align with China and Pakistan, or we're going to have an alignment with Russia and India. And we know who wants what in this country. And that decision will shape the next 50 to 100 years. And this choice is critical. With Russia, you have them just today, deporting all their North Korean migrant workers to sort of, go along with the UN sanctions and everything like this. And, they've done nothing but good things for us. They've fought ISIS. They should be our sister country. They're more aligned with us. India, the moral comparison to Pakistan is night and day. You have their premier falling into the arms of Trump, and they're just, really on board with
this is so important. Stay there. Let's get a U.S. Special Operations Command perspective on the real global alliance and what some of the top generals behind Flynn were wanting Trump to do that freaked the globalists out so much. An alliance between Russia, the United States, bringing down the euro, bringing freedom back to Europe, allied with India and Japan and others. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't talk to Zach off air before he comes on with us. We just set him up as a guest. And he started calling in, I guess, a year and a half ago, and just had amazing analysis that I knew. I was getting similar information from people that are currently high-level CIA, formerly CIA, Defense Intelligence, Army Special Operations Command, Delta Force. Just how that Delta Force works is you get in the combat group, and you never get out of it. And then there's like administrative people, and they embed them all over the infrastructure. That's not a secret to foreign governments. I'm not giving secrets out here, but that's the type of analysis I get from those people. And, of course, they get my analysis as well, and I do my own research. But we looked at Russia in the last few years, the last decade, and said they're anti-communist, they're becoming free market, their taxes are lower than us, they're pro-Christian, it's real, and they don't even want the surrounding countries around them. They just don't want to be destabilized by George Soros. And, they're banning teaching kids, how to be transgender in Russia. That's why the globalists don't like them. They've come out of the leftist globalist experiment. But let me just go back to Zach. And so why not ally with Russia just for the resources alone? Because they've got 2 to 3 times what Africa does, like 5, 6, 7 times what we've got, depending on how you look at it. And all the rest of it, the whole crossroads of the world with the U.S. and Russia, and then linked up with Japan, South Korea, India, and then boom, the rest of the world, that's a real alliance for peace. China's done with their expansion if that happens. If you want an American century, but a century for India and Russia and the whole world, it's a match made in heaven, and the Russians are begging for it. They're begging for it because it's a good move, okay? They've already enjoyed 85 years of being a proxy state to try to take over the world and having the globalists come in from foreign countries and run them, and, all the hunchback globalists, feeding on them. And so it's a magic moment. And Zach, we'll have you in the next segment because I'm ranting here. Finish up that point, but then you want to get into this breaking news. Saudi man in Oklahoma charged with lying about al-Qaeda training. And then Saudi, who helped al-Qaeda camp, is arrested in Oklahoma. You say that's critical. Which one you want to hit now? The two geopolitical choices that we have. One, be run by the globalist and the Vatican, controlled by the globalist, and the communist Chinese and the socialist EU, allied with Hollywood and all the and Pakistan, or go with the new common sense alliance that has matriculated up from the boardrooms of the Pentagon, not from the think tanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to recap, I mean, in this country, as a globe, we have a clear choice here. It is an alignment with China and Pakistan because they're tethered at the hip for several deep state issues, or an alignment with Russia and India. Obviously, the CIA, FBI Operation Mockingbird narrative given to their media assets, which is death, destruction, deception, are pro-China, pro-Pakistan for whatever reason on the left. If you look into the Muslim Brotherhood, Awan Brothers connection, I don't like that. They have an out for Russia. Russia could do no good. India just kind of gets swept under the rug. They're fairly neutral, but they are a staunch ally with Russia. So you get one or the other. You don't get India if you go with Pakistan. That's just not going to happen. So it's a clear choice: China or Pakistan or Russia and India. And the lines are drawn, and it's obvious. We're seeing, and we spoke about this several months ago, the North Korea narrative changing quickly and precisely, humanizing the North Korean population by hosting the defectors at the White House. The tide's turning there, and the raging fires of strategic patience are being put out and contained. So there's a real-world war threat there that we're containing, and it's obvious that we're not going along the lines. We're not going to follow the North Korea, strategic patience, generational facade that's been going on. So I think Trump and the White House currently is hoping to align with Russia and India, but obviously the media and the left and a majority of the country, unfortunately, is criticizing him for this. And I don't know if publicly he's feeling the pressure and starting to do certain things. I'm not sure. He's a very strategic individual. He knows what he's doing, and he's savvy. But we have to align with Russia and India, not China and Pakistan. We've been aligning with China and Pakistan generationally for quite some time, and look at the mess it's created. So that's that.
They've 100% cheated on every deal, backstabbed us, and you see Trump now is starting to take Pakistan to the woodshed.
Absolutely. And information is going to come out, and it's going to, the FISA memo was just the beginning. But like I said, Pakistan.
Well, we said this 6 months ago. The way to beat ISIS and the Taliban is don't let them run across the mountains of Pakistan like they've been doing.
Absolutely, and the ISI and the Awan Brothers, Muslim Brotherhood, have a lot to do with this, and this information is going to start to come out, obviously, in the next couple months, and it's going to be pretty interesting. And we can't align with this. They've double-crossed us. They've been doing terrible things in this country. And, Trump signaling to, he's signed the executive order to keep Guantanamo Bay open. This is critical. I just hope that, we could keep the momentum, in full effect and not sort of fall into a popularity contest, because I've seen some troubling things come out of the White House in response to Russia or some military actions. I got a feeling that Trump and Putin get along quite well, and hopefully that is the case. And the Indian premier and Trump do get along very well. But we're in economic warfare. We're in actual warfare. So we're in dire times here. But the alignment in the groups that we need to align ourselves with is clear to me and all the patriots. But if you would watch any leftist or mainstream media, you would think Russia is the enemy. Russia is the worst thing on the planet. That it is the Chinese.
And from my research, Russia has put up with a whole bunch of attacks, insults, sanctions, being drugged through the mud, even under Obama, and now under Trump has absolutely kicked Russia right in the face while telling Putin, I'm your buddy, I'm your friend. And I think the Russians are sophisticated enough to understand that Trump tried this realignment, said he wanted it. The globalists came in and freaked out about it because they're the ones that are actually destroying our country. They want to cut us off resource-wise and only give it to China. I mean, it's totally clear. So Trump's turning America back on. He's reactivating our sovereignty. But as a olive branch of the neocons that got into the White House via Bannon and others, he is just really escalating things to help George Soros try to destabilize Russia. And I just think anything George Soros is up to, we should oppose.
Absolutely. And when it comes to, economic ideas or ideals, it's, you have a communist sort of communist ran economy there in China where it's top down, or you have Russia, which is trying to get its free market going and trying to, really spread and, breed a new country there and breed a new economy. And when it comes to the moral comparisons between Pakistan and India, that's quite clear. You get radical Islamicists in Pakistan, or you get the moral Hindu or Buddhist base in India. So to me, the idea is very clear. Obviously, we think rationally. And
why do Indians love Trump so much in India and in the U.S. even before Trump won? And I was looking up the Indian leader. He doesn't normally start hugging people over and over again. He wouldn't turn loose at Trump.
Well, they're also in a fight with their life, and they border Pakistan, so they've been involved in internal conflicts there forever. And if you know the type of individuals coming out of Pakistan, the most radical brand of Islam, the craziest factions of Islam, with deep state backing, a lot of Al Qaeda, ISIS, Mujahideen, perpetuation came out of Pakistan. So a lot of this was really centered in Pakistan. It's such a clash of cultures that we can't even decipher and realize what's going on there, but the intelligence agencies know the problem that Pakistan is, and obviously their neighboring country of India understands that problem.
That's right, 100 nuclear weapons at least, and they claim that AQ Khan gave them the nukes, but I always wonder who really gave Pakistan the nukes. The word is China, and then now we hear Pakistan may have given them to Saudi Arabia. All right, going back to Zach. Zach, you got big breaking news on what you talked about last week about Guantanamo Bay and leaving Islamicists behind inside the U.S. Now it's breaking. Saudi, who attended al-Qaeda training camp, was arrested in Oklahoma. You said this is all part of the commanders being fired from Guantanamo Bay. Zach, what's the intel?
Absolutely. This all ties in together. This is the turning of the tides. This is just after a week of Trump signing the executive order to keep Guantanamo Bay open. Yesterday, we had two unprecedented events. The first one we'll get into is the proof of concept. We could stop one of these. If we could find one of these, we could roll them all up, and we could do the same thing to them all. So the first issue is the deep state Islamic sleeper cell asset finally arrested. This individual's name is Mr. Al-Fallaj. That's spelled A-L-F-A-L-L-A-J. And Mr. Al-Fallaj, in 2000, was a part of the Al-Farouk training camp in Afghanistan, the most hardcore training camp they have there before the towers were hit, where they obviously have the video evidence and them going through the monkey bars and the whole nine and all this. But these were the initial group of Al-Qaeda, the initial base and command there before the attacks in 2001. And, of course, after the attacks, they fled that area, but our special operators and intelligence agencies flooded the area in Afghanistan and picked up key intel. Al-Fallaj was identified in a major raid. They got his ID, physical phone numbers, physical addresses, DNA evidence. They knew exactly who he was, name, address, all of it, from sort of deep state factions in Saudi Arabia, these guys who eventually went to Afghanistan with left behind Mujahideen individuals who became what we know as Al-Qaeda. And let's just get into the story. So that happens. They got him booked, and they have his full profile at the FBI counterterrorism office. He has a full file and everything. A lot of time passes in between that, obviously. And in 2011, he comes to the U.S. on a non-immigrant visa. His so-called wife is going to Southwestern Oklahoma State University, about an hour outside of Oklahoma City. So he comes in on a non-immigrant visa. First of all, that should have been a big red flag. This guy just literally files a non-immigrant visa and gets in. So they have him in the FBI counterterrorism. They have his file. They know who he is. He's actually a high-value target. He's in the States, no problem. That's a big deal. Okay, then a lot of...
we got to go to break. Come back and I'll give you the floor. Welcome back. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We're talking to Zach, our really amazing intel source. I have other sources that are in similar walks of life and other areas, and they pretty much mirror our own research. In fact, a lot of our research is their research, and back and forth. I mean, truth, objectively looked at by 2 different people or 1,000 different people, pretty much comes up with the same truth of your common sense. It's very pragmatic as well, and I don't lionize our military, because militaries can certainly end up being used the wrong way in authoritarian ways. But I was pleasantly surprised in the last 5-6 years to learn that it's been our military that said no to Obama, openly bringing down Syria and backing Al-Qaeda and ISIS, the whole deep state thing to bring in radical Islam and let it carnage the rest of Islam, because the biggest enemy of Muslims is the globalist-funded radical Islamists out of Pakistan and other areas. As Zach, who, believe me, can speak directly to that, he's a leading expert on it, and folks knew who he was. So you're looking at all this, and you see the bigger globalist plan. It's just chaos for everybody. Screw over the Muslims, screw over the West, screw over the Christians, screw over the Buddhists, screw over the Japanese, screw over the Indians, screw over the Chinese people. And Cy Hirsch has written about this. You know, Cy Hirsch said he wanted to come on last year and give us credit for our reporting and everything. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And he's what I'd call a real classical liberal in that he understood what had really gone on and happened in military to military, how our own military checkmated Obama and the plan to really cause a clash of civilizations. So it's a very sophisticated issue, but I wanted Zach to finish up with just this story about, rolling up this al-Qaeda leader here in the United States who was, patient zero there at the original al-Qaeda protected areas, and how criminal elements of our government, not even the whole CIA, let's be clear, but under Obama and Clinton certainly, and even Bush to a great extent, the exact same people. So it was the whole CIA, at least the leadership level before. Now Trump is ending that whole policy, and then you were going to get into the rest of it, how this arrest ties into what happened at Guantanamo Bay and those firings.
Absolutely. So now we have established that that the FBI counterterrorism had a profile on this guy. Our intelligence agencies knew exactly who he was. He entered our country in 2011 on a non-immigrant visa with his official name, with his actual name. This is ridiculous. And he goes into just an hour outside of Oklahoma City. This is where it gets good. So he outstays his non-immigrant visa. He's expired in his non-immigrant visa, still no red flags, still no arrest, still nothing. Then in 2016, he starts to take private flying lessons, if you could believe that. This is validated. This is on record. So this individual in 2016, who should have been rolled up 3 times, he should have never even been here since 2011, starts taking flying lessons in 2016. Still no arrest. He's not being rolled up. He's in communities, no job, no income. We know who he is, nothing. Okay. Then just yesterday, he's arrested. And is it the FBI kicking in doors and he's out of there? No. He was arrested on an immigration charge. So it was patriots and security firms that forced the FBI to do their job. They said, look, this guy's got a non-immigrant visa. If he gets rolled up on that, you'll see his name in the database and you're forced to follow.
Sure. Now that it's embarrassing, they're just getting rid of it because patriots forced it. And then let me guess, does he tie into networks and other events that were? Absolutely.
He is one of so many. And at that southwestern Oklahoma State University, there's many studies there. Of course, we can't.
Well, that's where a bunch of them trained before. A bunch of them trained there before 9/11.
Absolutely. And I mean, this university, Southwestern Oklahoma State, is just there. But make no mistakes, folks, this guy was taking flight lessons. The type of background checks and vetting that needs to happen just to fill out the applications to start the flying process are incredible. But forget that. This guy's been in the country since 2011, overstaying visas. We know who he is. He's a high-value target. And this guy was going to kamikaze a plane into a federal building in Oklahoma City filled with goodies. You bet. Okay.
Which is funny, because they had their deep state operatives, Michael Hastings' wife that sold him down the river, and her statements. She pops up at key times as statements and said, there's going to be a new Oklahoma City, a mass murder, a massacre a week and a half ago if you release this memo. And then you have that being, I said, look, that's a talking point, because she's a key person that they use as a gopher to run flags up. I'm not even saying she's involved. They just use her as an errand girl. And then Adam Schiff pops out and says the exact same thing last week. So are you saying, I know you can't get into classified stuff, that something big was foiled?
Absolutely. That's why they had to forward it. It was security firms and patriots who forced the FBI's hand, but it wasn't under their own volition. This was based off of an initial immigration issue. The same thing as an illegal Mexican, working and not doing e-verify and being rated.
Sure. There's a file. The guy's Al-Qaeda from the beginning. He's year one alumni, Al-Qaeda, and he's here, obviously got a network, that area, as you point, just in public intelligence. That's a key center for him, probably their key center for whatever reason, right under folks' nose. And then this happens. And so right there, wow, I wish I knew the whole story behind that.
So let me get this straight. They could dragnet under Carter Page and FISA, but they can't catch these guys? Really? If you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you, because he's one of many, and it's all being rolled up. And this happened simultaneously, the arrest of this guy, which was a signal to the rest of them, because they're done, and we know exactly who they are. That's exactly why this guy, Mr. Al-Falaj, was rolled up, because he's in communities. He has no income. He's taking flying lessons, and we know what's going on there, okay? This happened simultaneously where Secretary of Defense, with the support of President Donald Trump, fired and removed two key high-level individuals at Guantanamo Bay. One of which was Harvey Rishikoff, who was the convening authority for the military commissions, and the second was Gary Brown, who was the legal advisor for military commissions. Both these guys are at the helm of the trials for 9/11 terrorists, and we all know what happened on that morning of 9/11. We all know the false flag pretenses. We all know how it was a plan to cripple our country, cripple our economy.
But let's be clear, because they always misrepresent. They always misrepresent, and I'm the guy that from the day one's been exposing it. They say we're saying America did it, or our military did it, or the firemen did it. No, criminal elements working with radical jihadists in a whole operation that's so deep we don't have all the answers. We just know the official story is a lie. We're using that to use an excuse to go in the Middle East, not to stop radical Islam, but to sow radical Islam, destabilize things, then collapse Europe, and then have a clash of civilizations that takes out Islam and Christianity at the same time. Is that what you're getting at?
Absolutely. That was the cornerstone event, the cornerstone event to the generational push in pretext to align with China and Pakistan, to enter a one world government, to completely dissolve what we have going on here. And unfortunately, the Donald Trump, or I should say fortunately and unfortunately for them, the deep state actors, but fortunately for us, Donald Trump and his being elected into the presidency has stopped that. And this is very critical. This is exactly what's going on. You don't understand. The two individuals that were moved at Guantanamo Bay, this is unprecedented. Mattis, stomped right down there and removed them. And what was the official point? They didn't cover this up. This is not a retirement. They said it was a loss of confidence, unquote. They know what happened on 9/11. Trump talked to Jeb Bush directly on the stage for the world to see what happened on 9/11.
Oh, I was told behind the scenes he was going to... They threatened Cruz over his dad, which is known. They got a CIA file. It's him. He went away. They're like, oh, what? They're like, oh, yeah, Trump's got all the files. Exactly. And he let them all know, I'm going to bring 9/11 out. Trump's on tape 2 weeks after 9/11 saying bombs blew up Building 7. So Trump knows it all. That's what I've been told by high-level people that have been in a 2-hour conversation with Trump, even late last year, is they go, Alex, you don't get it. He knows it all, like Corsi said, before you were even born. And behind the scenes, I would have these long conversations. Trump is obsessed with all this and knows the whole thing. That's why they're crapping their britches right now.
Absolutely, and this is a stranglehold and conspiracy just crippling our country, and it's on its way out. This has massive implications also once cleansed and decapitated on the economy. Once this is absolutely decapitated from our economy, our defense spending will reflect that. Of course, Trump wants a strong military, and this is Ron Paul territory, where he says, hey, a strong military doesn't mean a strong defense doesn't mean a strong preemptive empire-building system. So we could both shrink our defense budget and also have the most capable military ever when we're not including ourselves in this full spectrum.
Well, say it. The globalists give us policies to sap us and sabotage us and not be strategic.
Exactly. So you have individuals like Peter Schiff on yesterday, who I respect and admire, and all these projections and everything is based on a perpetual defense budget. These defense budgets are based on empire building, are based on full spectrum dominance, built-in, planned, and scripted false flags that once actually contained, once we're not engaging in it, once we're not orchestrating.
And what you're letting out is the big secret. We got to go to break. We'll come back in 1 minute. The big secret is that Trump's truly pragmatic and doesn't want false flags, doesn't want Machiavelli. He wants straight shooting. And the insane people inside the globalist system think that's mentally ill. No, that's called honor. That's called getting things done. It's called America. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
But just to wrap up, look, this is week one. Trump just signed the executive order at Guantanamo Bay. These full spectrum dominance, deep state backed crap that's been going on around the globe is going to be over. It's going to be over very soon if Trump is successful, and this is critical when it comes to our economy as well, because the amount of money allocated to this nation-building and imperialistic sort of actions around the world is very expensive. You think it's cheap to have 50,000 people in Japan, Korea, Germany, and almost every other sophisticated country around the world. We're everywhere. We could have the most sophisticated defense. We could protect our country, protect our own land, align with key allies, and work together and shrink that budget, get our military armed and capable as they should be, put that money back into the economy to attack the deficit. This is major implications.
But we are deliberately meant to be the ugly American, do all the things, expand, spend the money, that have the globalists come in and take over the countries once we're done being the jackals, and then we get the blame. They roll it up. China's the angel that did it all financially the way we should have been doing it. And so our own thinkers are going, why are we selling ourselves out, paying for it all, getting screwed over, and then the communist Chinese take over after they played good cop? Our own war planners have deciphered the globalist program that myself and many others have exposed, have realized it's real, and have decided to double-cross the entire globalist program from just a pragmatic view. This is what we should all be doing.
Absolutely, and all these experts, all these trends researchers, everything, they're basing this and they're predicating this off of historical trends. This is unlike anything. This is the second American Revolution. So I encourage Peter Schiff to work into his algorithm. What happens if the defense budget actually shrinks by 35 to 40%, and we get out of all these issues? This is going to take years.
And that's the plan. Stay there. We got to do more, and I'll get into the whole plan to attack the family too. But I want you to finish up with Elon Musk and being involved in all that, and there at Cape Canaveral, watching that amazing launch. We'll show some footage of for TV viewers on the other side. But the reason I like Zach is the thinking you're getting from Zach is the thinking I've gotten from the president and from retired generals and other people. This is what they want to do. This is like really trying to build a future. And it's very clear what that future is. And the public wants it. Wow, imagine that. Common sense is popular. Communists realized, and the big mega banks that were funding them, that collectivism just doesn't work for their eugenics takeover, because it was only a means to an end. So they decided to try to have a bifurcated system where you have communist slave zones with propped up elites who become viceroys, who then exploit the populations and then economically bring down the target nations. Because once communists take over a country, they always then exploit it to take over the next. It's a robber baron tool of control. That's all been declassified. That's why all the big universities, all the big money funds communism, and then tells you it doesn't exist out of the other side of their mouth. But talking to Zach about this whole thing, our own elites, I know, in the last few decades have had their own rebellion and said, I am an elitist. I believe in humanity, and I believe I'm so powerful. Not that I'm on a power trip, but I'm speaking for them. These are the conversations that why should we screw everybody over? This instinct to dumb people down and poison them and control them, that's going to blow back on everybody. Let's just export everybody to space and decide to go for the stars, and let's go with our real inclination, not with some weird, selfish, social Darwinist thing that we're dominant, let's dumb everybody down and kill everybody, and it'll all be better that way. So that's the big fight between globalism and Americanism. Not that America's perfect, but it's seen as the ideal fulcrum to launch this, and it's built the whole global government off our own blood, sweat, and ingenuity, and millions of dead men and thousands of dead women. And so you could argue at a very sophisticated level that this was the original plan to roll out globalism, capture all the communist systems, get them all under surveillance and control, and then once you had the whole DARPA grid in, they thought would be for surveillance, use that to bring them down. But that's not really what happened. It's the delusions of evil always get turned around in the end and used against them. Like the Bible says, the pit you've dug for your brother is the pit you're going to fall into. Zach, you agree with that? And the other point about watching the big launch yesterday, propelling that automobile, the idea of the sexy machine into space, a great advertisement for space travel, exactly what we need.
Absolutely. So again, here we have another choice. We have the choice of China, Pakistan, and Russia, India. Now we have this choice. Do you want an AI future and an AI alignment, or do you want a pro-human ethical alignment? And those lines have been drawn.
You just said it. You just said it. I thought that this morning. You're right. That's why Zach's so smart. We just put a freaking beautiful car and a human, the image of us on the space highway, baby, as a ritual archetype saying we're going to the stars. Space is about humans again, not these damn robots. You are amazing. That's the real archetype of this.
And this is what's going on behind the scenes that will be revealed historically. And this is exactly what's going on. You have the left in the Silicon Valley.
Trump told me, and I shouldn't say this part of one of the comments, he said, Alex, you're right. We're building a future that has humans in it, for humans. And I'd already said that myself. Musk is saying it, but Trump gets that. He's like, what, get rid of a future where my great-great-grandkids aren't kicking ass? BS, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. You have the left and the deep state sort of infiltrated Silicon Valley tech individuals aligning with AI, with a humanless future on this planet, whereas Trump, the Patriots, and Elon Musk and SpaceX and this faction of our humanity is talking about a future that's making life multiplanetary with humans at the core of it. Okay? That's what's going on here. You have Trump reinstating the National Space Council on June 30th of last year, almost immediately. One of the first things he did when he was in office, which was critical. You have him meeting with SpaceX, with Elon, and having this conversation and really having this melding of the minds and making it happen. Yesterday, we have the Falcon Heavy historic launch. This was an incredible moment in history. This is the most powerful rocket launch ever in our nation's history, in the world's history.
I was about to say, that giant booster, I thought it was going to explode. The flames, the corona off the end of that rocket, we can roll that too, was awesome.
Amazing what we could do when we're not stifled and sabotaged by deep state actors and people who are supposedly supposed to be our brother.
By the way, the same globalists, not Russians, it was globalists, were the ones in the 70s axed Werner von Braun's Saturn rocket that's still one of the best. Exactly. They have been sabotaging everything. But now look at that baby, even better.
And not to mention the implications would go back to the economy when it comes to mining comets, when it comes to mining asteroids.
Remember they said the U.S. couldn't have heavy lifters? What's that right there?
Absolutely. And I noticed earlier you were talking about the flamethrowers. So just give you a little insight into Musk's sort of philosophy, because Elon is a really great guy. And, on a diagram, you guys agree probably on about 80% of things. He's just in a different industry. But when it comes to the flamethrower, this was sort of a throwaway. This was a message to the people in his industry. This is fighting fire with fire. Of course, that wasn't the best in the industry. Of course, it wasn't nothing. It was a throwaway 4-day project. This is a message, and the message is we are going to fight fire with fire. All of the launches, all of the missions, all of the rockets are under the name Falcon. What is a falcon? It is a bird of prey. What is the oppositions? What are the elites in love with, in bed with? An owl. Moloch. Both birds of prey, one operates in the light, one operates at night. One's operating in the truth, one's operating in deception in the dark. I promise you, that's the meaning behind it. And it gets very, very deep. The implications of space travel are incredible. Trump talked about it in his initial address.
And there was this whole anti-human thing where human space travel's over, and we launch a badass car innovated with an image of a human into deep space. Exactly.
Believe it. And the implications for the economy are incredible. We're aligning this. The country's on its back. The country and the economy's on its back if we would have gone along with the status quo. But that's completely changing. So I need economists. I need all these individuals to understand the system that was occurring is over. This is an adaptive evolution. This is an adaptive humanity. Things are changing, and we are here to see
exactly like that top globalist told me, Alex, you're going to adapt to slavery. And we're saying, no, we're going to adapt to victory. We're going to have victory because humans are consciously in control of our evolution. That's what it is to be human.
Exactly. And you have the mainstream media and the CIA, FBI mockingbird narrative given to their assets, which is...
They all want to walk around on red carpets and act like cool people instead they could embrace the stars right now and get out of the way.
And the Patriot, my narrative, the Patriot narrative, our narrative, the Infowars narrative is duty, honor, country, and deeds above words. The stars are the limit. We're not stopping. It's going to be pro-human. They're wishing for an AI God because of the crimes and the karmatic balance that they have in life. They've done terrible things, and they're wishing that this was a big mistake.
They're trying to get out of hell. They're desperate. They know there's a God. They're scared. Instead of just getting in line with God and everything's going to be given to us, we're already a little G. We're already on a planet. What we envisioned 30 years ago in the movie Heavy Metal is now in space. Don't they understand? And I don't say this like a Satanist. It's the opposite. Satanist says you'll be your own God. You are God if you're selfish. No, no, no. We're already made in the image of God. We're already connected to God. We already spiritually transceive with God. Don't they understand? We're already there. We're already the AI. We're already connected. We're already there. Don't they understand?
They don't understand. They're possessed, they're directed, but what they need to do is repent and regroup because the writing is on the wall. It's going to happen. Trump hasn't been as hardcore as he has, or as he could be, I should say. You know, what he's doing is behind the scenes. He's aligning things. He's taking key positions out of there. But if he wanted to come out day one and start firing people and start really having military tribunals, he could have done that. He doesn't want the panic. He wants them to have the awakening. And they're so brainwashed. They're just so gone in a trance on purpose, in hypnosis by the
Exactly.
CIA,
they choose
FBI.
the delusion. They choose the delusion. And that's the thing, is that you're right. Well, Trump is very the opposite nihilistic. He's very fatalistic in that he's going to do this purely as a good guy. And then if they kill him, he believes that'll supercharge it. And he doesn't want to die. But I've talked to folks that have had the conversations with him. He is going to do this by the book, straight up, and has no fear.
Absolutely, and he believes what he's doing. I believe what he's doing. The reason some of the stuff sounds brash or it sounds sort of irregular, because it is irregular. He's in the moment. He's a witness. He's doing what he thinks is right, and he's doing what he knows is right. This is his moment in time, and he's right.
And that's why the Hollywood pedophiles can't, because they're being exercised. They don't know what to do. Zach, powerful interview. I don't know what we say about this interview. They're going to try to block it. Just get it out to everybody. He's going to come back and take over. We're going to have Tommy Robinson host on the other side from embattled Britannia. I'll be on. Stay with us.
You're